Okay, so let me share the link now with the group. Okay, so let me start and we begin from there. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. So can you see my screen now?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet?
Yes, sir. Not yet.
Okay. Okay. All right. You will see it in a minute. Let me see. Okay, you should be able to see it in a minute. Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
It should.
Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yes, sir. It's not
Okay.
showing.
So can you see the presentation now?
Um. Okay. Yes. Arterial blood gas.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
arterial blood gas analysis. Now I want you to follow me very closely as we might turn this down. As we begin this session. Okay, now. Good morning again. Good morning, everybody. I welcome you to this teaching. My name is David Ogunlabi. I am a nurse. I work in the UK, and I'm very passionate about imparting knowledge, especially nursing knowledge. So this morning, I'll be talking on arterial blood gases, ABG analysis. So I want you to be attentive because we're going to be learning a lot of things in this session. Now, when we talk of arterial blood gases, it's very simple. In the intensive care unit especially, we make use of the arterial blood gases, in which blood samples are taken from arteries in the body, especially the maybe radial artery, the brachial, femoral, and whatever artery that will be used. And then we run different components and know what is happening in the patient system. So that is what we want to learn this morning. But before we go into it, I just thought it's important we learn the buffer system, the buffer systems in the human body, which we can also call acid-base balance. So this is just to refresh our memory about this whole ABG analysis. Now, when we talk about buffer, a buffer is a chemical system that prevents radical change in fluid pH by dampening the change in hydrogen ion concentrations in the case of acid, excess acid or excess base. Now, the explanation behind buffer is to bring about a balance or an equilibrium. Because as you know, the human system is very dynamic. It changes often. So the body has developed a mechanism by which a balance can be achieved, so that when the body is trying to go towards a high level, it will be dampened and brought low to the normal level. Then if it wants to go downward, it will be brought to normal level. So that is what a buffer system is all about. And in this case, we are talking about the acid-base balance. That is, the body has a tendency of tilting towards acidosis, and the body has a tendency of tilting towards alkalosis. So in that situation, when the body senses these extremes, buffer system comes into place to bring about a balance. Because if there is acidosis, it can cause a lot of harm or danger to the body. Then if there is also alkalosis, there will also be danger or harm to the body. So that is why this equilibrium, this maintenance of balance is very important. So we'll be talking about what all this is all about shortly. The buffer systems functioning in the blood plasma include, now these are the buffer systems: plasma proteins, phosphates, bicarbonate, and carbonic acid buffers. Okay, so you can get a place and just highlight all these points. Yeah, so let's go on. I will not dwell on this. If I dwell on this, we will take so much time, maybe some other time. There are some things I prepared, but I will not go into this today. I just want to know that the buffer systems in the body contains, we have the plasma proteins, phosphates, bicarbonate, and carbonic acid. Today, we are going to be dwelling more on the bicarbonate and carbonic acid. So that is why I don't want to spend time on the plasma proteins and the phosphates. Our focus today is arterial blood gases, and the buffer systems that affect the ABG is bicarbonate and carbonic acid buffers. So I will just go straight into that. Yeah. So now let's talk about respiratory regulation of acid-base balance. Respiratory regulation of acid-base balance. Now, when I talk of, generally when we talk about the, sorry, I don't know how I'm going to cope with this. People are still coming in. Okay. All right, so let me go back. So generally, when we talk about the buffer system, or let me say ABG, there are two major systems I will be talking about: the respiratory system and the metabolic system. The respiratory system and the metabolic system. Now, when you hear me emphasizing on something, please, it's because later on in this teaching, I'll be referring to those things. So the major point you need to get very clearly, you will hear me emphasizing on them. So in this lecture today, we will be focusing on respiratory system of maintaining balance, and then metabolic system of maintaining balance. So we'll talk about respiratory regulation and the metabolic respiration. Now, when you take in, just look at this diagram and just take a look at it from beginning to the end, this diagram here. You will discover something. Now, when we take in CO2, what happens is that carbon dioxide continually interacts or reacts with water. And that interaction will, now look at this, this equation. We'll be using this equation often, and it's the major equation that we help our understanding of the ABG. Now, this is the CO2, the carbon dioxide that you breathe in. When CO2 gets into the blood, it interacts or it reacts with blood. There's a reaction between carbon dioxide and water. And you know, the water makes up the largest component of the blood. Now, when this reaction takes place, it forms carbonic acid. So this means that if you want to measure the acidity, because this is carbonic acid, the accumulation of carbonic acid in the body makes the body go into acidosis. So if I want to know if the body is in a state of acidosis, what I need to do is to try to take the level of this carbonic acid in the body. But the reason why arterial blood gases are important is this. There is no way you can measure exactly the amount or the level of carbonic acid in the body. But you can measure the amount of CO2 by taking the pressure. There's something we call the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the body. So you can know the level of carbon dioxide. You can know the pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood. In this case, arterial blood. We are talking about arterial blood gases. So our emphasis is on the arteries, the arterial blood. Please don't get confused about this. Our emphasis is arterial blood gases. So let your mind focus on arterial blood. So when you take in carbon dioxide interacts with water to form carbonic acid. So if we want to measure the level of acidity of the blood, what we need to know is the level of carbon dioxide in that blood. If we can get the level of carbon dioxide, we will know if there is acidity or not. So which means that the higher the level of CO2 in the body, the higher the acidosis level in the body. I will say that again. The higher the CO2 level in the body, the higher the acidity of the body, of the blood. So which means that if a patient is having respiratory distress, for instance, and then is not able to exhale CO2 from the body, and there is accumulation of CO2 in the blood, you can be sure that if you take the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in that blood, it will be high. And if the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood is high, it tells you immediately that this patient is in a state of acidosis. Okay, so this is one thing I want you to understand, because when we start analyzing our arterial blood gases later, you will need this understanding to get it very clearly. Okay, so let me go over it again. CO2 interacts with carbonic acid, and which forms, CO2 interacts with water and then forms carbonic acid. Okay, says the level of CO2 and carbonic acid in the blood are in equilibrium. So exactly what I said. For you to know the level of CO2, if you know the level of CO2 in the blood, you will definitely know if the patient is in a state of acidosis. I'm sorry, I'll be shuttling in and out because of the people coming in. Now, when CO2 level in the blood rises, the excess CO2 interacts with water to form additional carbonic acid, lowering the blood pH. Now, the second thing I will establish, okay, I think I will talk about that later. Okay, so the major thing I want you to understand here is the concept of CO2 and carbonic acid. That when that CO2 interacts with water to form carbonic acid, so the level of CO2 can make you detect if the body is in a state of acidosis, that is, if the CO2 level is high, the blood will be more acidic because more carbonic acid will be formed. Then if the CO2 is low, it means the blood is less acidic, or the body is even going into alkalosis. So that is what it means. Let's move on because we still have a lot to talk about. Yeah, so this is renal regulation of acid-base balance. Don't forget, under respiratory regulation, our emphasis is on carbon dioxide. Emphasis on carbon dioxide, okay? Now, under renal, our emphasis is on bicarbonates. Our emphasis is on bicarbonates. You can look at this diagram. It just explains how the exchange takes place, whereby bicarbonate makes itself available in the bloodstream and then bring about regulation. Okay. Now, bicarbonate is what determines the level of alkalinity of the body. Okay. Level of alkalinity. So it regulates alkalosis. If, and this is what I'm talking about, let's say, for instance, let's go back here now. If we discover that there is acidosis, that is, the level of CO2 is very high in the body, and there is acidosis, the renal system will come in to try to compensate for that excess. Please listen attentively to what I'm saying. Let me say that again. In respiratory regulation, we talk about CO2. So if the level of CO2, if there's CO2 accumulation in the body, we already established that there will be acidosis in the body because CO2 interacts with water continually to form carbonic acid. Now, when the body senses that, and that is what we are talking about, buffer. Now, there is a state of acidosis in the body, and that acidosis is as a result of the respiratory, the high CO2 in the body. So what will happen is that the renal system will come to help in that situation by increasing the amount of bicarbonate. You know, bicarbonate is an alkaline. It's an alkaline substance, or we can call it a base. You know, our acid base. Bicarbonate is a base. So when there is acidosis in the body, renal system tries to regulate the situation, tries to salvage the situation by producing more bicarbonate. So that when bicarbonate is produced in excess, it will bring down the level of acidosis in the body. Okay, and it is also the other way around. Let's now assume that CO2 level in the body is low. Okay, if CO2 level in the body is low, the renal system will also bring about, they will also respond to it by ensuring that the bicarbonate is less produced. It will produce minimal bicarbonate so as to salvage that situation. Okay, let's move on. Now, major components of ABG. We have the pH. We will define all these things later. pH, PaCO2, PaO2, bicarbonate, and Be. I will talk about that. It's called base excess. Base excess. Now, let's talk about pH. pH is simply the measure of the hydrogen ion concentration in the body. Now, of course, we know from our basic chemistry, the hydrogen ion concentration is what determines alkalinity or acidity of the blood. So if there is high level of hydrogen ion concentration in the body, then it will be more acidic. So pH is the measure of acidity or alkalinity of the body. All right. And the higher, if the pH is high, okay, if pH is high, it means that thing is alkaline. If pH is low, it means that thing is what? Acidotic. So the higher the pH, the more alkaline the blood is. The lower the pH of the blood, the more acidotic the blood is. Just get that clear in your mind. And look at the diagram. You see the diagram here. You see that the arrow goes up and it's saying basic. So it means that the higher the pH, the more alkaline the blood is. Then look at the arrow going down, acidic. So lower pH shows that there is acidosis. High pH shows that there is alkalosis. Lower pH shows that there is acidosis. Higher pH shows that there is alkalosis. So for this lecture, the normal pH of the blood is between 7.35 to 7.45, which means anything lower than 7.35 is a state of acidosis. And then anything greater than 7.45 is a state of alkalosis. This is golden. This is very important. pH less than 7.35, acidosis. pH greater than 7.45 is alkalosis. Let's go on. The next one is PaCO2. PaCO2 means partial pressure of arterial carbon dioxide. And that's what I explained under respiratory regulation. This is what I explained under respiratory regulation of acid-base balance. So when you see PaCO2, sometimes it can also be called PCO2. They may remove that A. It's the same thing. PaCO2 or PCO2 is the same. It is the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the arterial blood. That's in this context. And the normal level is between 35 to 45 millimeters of mercury. Or if you convert it to kilopascal, it is between 4.7 to 6.0 kilopascal. I hope you are following. Now, a lot of countries or systems prefer to use kilopascal as a unit of measurement. Here in the UK, we use kilopascal. So it's better you know this figure both in millimeter of mercury and kilopascal. And in our discussion today, we'll be using the kilopascal measurement. So this, sorry, the millimeter of mercury values are very easy to know. You understand? Because if you look at pH is 7.35 to 7.45, okay? And then PCO2 is telling you 35 to 45. So it's easy to grasp. But the kilopascal, you can commit it to your memory, 4.7 to 6.0 kilopascal. And to make it easy for you to convert, 1 kilopascal is equal to 7.5 millimeter of mercury. That is how the conversion is done. Okay? I hope you are jotting down things. 1 kilopascal is equal to 7.5 millimeter of mercury. So now, 35 millimeter of mercury, if you want to convert 35 to kilopascal, just say 35 divided by 7.5. You can try it. You can try it where you are. 35 divided by 7.5. What do you get? You get something like 4.6666. So that's why you got 4.7. Then 45 divided by 7.5. If you want to convert millimeter of mercury to kilopascal, it will give you 6. So write it somewhere in case you will need it someday. 1 kilopascal is equal to 7.5 millimeter of mercury. That is, by the way, I'm just trying to let it make sense to you. So PaCO2 means partial pressure of arterial carbon dioxide. Okay. Yeah, let's go on. Then we have PaO2. So PaO2 is partial pressure of arterial oxygen in the body. Now, okay, when this PaCO2, or it can also call PO2, it is not really very, it's not really very important, you know, in arterial blood gas analysis. Okay, yeah, but I will tell you what I mean later. So the normal value is 80 to 100 millimeter of mercury. 80 to 100 millimeter of mercury. Okay. And the same way in kilopascal is 11 to 13. You can use that method. Just say 80 divided by 7.5. It will help you convert it to kilopascal. You get 11 or maybe 10 point something. Then 100 divided by 7.5 should give you around 13 kilopascal. Let's go on. And then bicarbonates. So bicarbonate is measured in millimoles per liter, and the normal level is between 22 to 26 millimole per liter. 22 to 26 millimole per liter. Okay. Let's go on. Now, base excess. Base excess. Now, base excess essentially measures the amount of bicarbonate ions in the blood. Okay, the normal level is between -2 to +2. So anything below -2, okay, anything below -2 shows that there is a very low level of bicarbonate. So when you hear base excess, it just tells you, it gives you a rough estimate of the bicarbonate ions in the blood. Okay, so that's why we call it base excess. So anything below -2, it means that there is a low base excess in the body, and anything higher than or greater than +2 shows that there is a high level of bicarbonate. Anything lower than -2 shows that there is a low level of bicarbonate in the body, and if it's more than +2, it shows that there is high level of bicarbonate in the body. Now let's talk about compensation. Compensation. Compensation is a process by which the body adjusts and mobilizes other buffers to keep the pH within normal range. To keep the pH within normal range. I hope we are still together. To keep the pH within normal range. So this is the efforts that the body puts in place to stabilize things, to bring about a balance to things. So, and it is in regulating the pH. So if the pH is too high, the body tries to compensate. If the pH is too low, the body tries to compensate, because if pH is too low, it means there is acidosis. If pH is too high, it means there is alkalosis. So the body tries to bring about a compensatory system into it, and we will see how that is done shortly. There are two major compensations. We have respiratory compensation and we have metabolic compensation. Now, listen attentively at this stage, because this is where a lot of people get confused when it comes to this. You know, like I initially said, that if there is acidosis in the body, for instance, or there is alkalosis, whichever way, the only way to know if there is acidosis or alkalosis is by first knowing the pH, okay? And then later we can trace the source of the problem. If there is acidosis, the next step is to know what is the source of this acidosis. If it is alkalosis, the next question is, what is the source of this alkalosis? Okay. Now, if there is acidosis and the cause is respiratory, then the metabolic system will come and rescue. So they work in partnership. They collaborate. You see, they collaborate. If there is problem in the respiratory system, the metabolic system comes to rescue. That is, if it is still functioning, right? the metabolic system tries to come and rescue. You know, there is something we learned I learned something years ago when I was in nursing school. We call it sympathetic ophthalmia. I don't know if you still remember. It's been a long time. It just came to my mind now. Sympathetic ophthalmia. Now, if one of your eyes is having problem, you know, there's a way the second eye tries to come and help, and then it also gets infected. Okay, so it's like they are trying to collaborate and help each other, but in the process of helping the other person, he also gets into problem. Okay, so that's the same thing here, that if there's problem with the respiratory system, maybe a patient is having problem with respiration and is retaining a lot of carbon dioxide, and that is making, you know, the blood to become more acidotic. The metabolic system will now sense it that, oh, respiratory system is in problem. I need to come and rescue. So the metabolic system will do everything in its ability to rescue the situation. So for instance, if the problem is CO2 retention and the body is there's acidosis in the body due to respiration, okay, the metabolic system will produce more bicarbonates so that it will balance the level of acidosis. It will bring down the acidotic level to normal state, to normal level. Okay. Now, the same thing happens if there is problem with the metabolic, maybe the bicarbonate. There's problem with bicarbonate production. Okay, maybe there's no enough bicarbonate being produced by the metabolic system. I already said it. When you hear respiratory, we are talking about the CO2. When you hear metabolic, we are talking about bicarbonate. Let this be in your mind again and again. So if there's problem with the metabolic system, for instance, bicarbonate is not being produced as it should. Now, you know, if bicarbonate is not produced as it should, the body will be acidic. There will be acidosis in the body. I hope you know that, because bicarbonate is what makes the blood alkaline. Okay, so there will be acidosis. So when the respiratory system senses that there is problem with the metabolic system, it also tries to compensate for that problem, you know. So that is what the compensation issue is all about. Don't bother yourself about all these things. You can always go through it later. So let's go on. I will spare you of all this. I will spare you of all this. I will spare you of all this. Yes, let's go to our major discussion, ABG interpretation. There are 4 steps, and then you arrive at your conclusion, because we'll be treating case scenarios now. The first thing is, if you see any ABG values and they ask you to interpret, the first thing is check the pH value of that ABG to determine if there's acidosis or alkalosis. So how do you determine that? So if you check pH and pH is less than 7.35, your diagnosis immediately will be what? Will be acidosis. If you check pH and pH is greater than 7.45, that is alkalosis. That's the first thing you need to know. The next point is you now determine the source of that problem. How do you determine the source? You determine maybe, and there are 2 possible sources of the problem, or 2 possible causes of the problem. It's either it is respiratory or metabolic. So you see now why I've been emphasizing on respiratory and metabolic regulations. So now, if there is acidosis, please, I need you to pay attention to this. If, number 1, you have checked your pH, and your pH is less than 7.35, that is acidosis. Now, if you want to trace it, you check the PaCO2 and you check the bicarbonate. Whichever one that goes in the direction of the problem will definitely be the cause of that problem, will be the source of that problem. Whichever one of these values, PaCO2 and bicarbonate, whichever one goes in the direction of the problem you have identified here, is the source of the problem. For instance, pH is, we have checked our pH. pH is less than 7.35. So we have said this is what? Acidosis. Now, if you now check the PaCO2, and the PaCO2 is also high. Now, what does it mean if you see that PaCO2 is high? That is also pointing towards acidosis. You know, I told you that CO2 reacts with water to form what? Carbonic acid. So if you see that PaCO2 is also high in value, now you say that is acidosis. So you can easily say that the acidosis you have identified in that pH, the source of it, the cause of that acidosis is respiratory. So you can say that is respiratory acidosis. Okay? Yeah. Now, if you see that pH is greater than 7.45, yeah, and you say, okay, that situation, it is what? It is that is alkalosis. Then you will now come and check what is the source. Now you check the bicarbonate, and you see that bicarbonate is also high. High bicarbonate shows that there is what? Alkalosis. So you can easily say that is metabolic alkalosis. And then check if there is compensation. And then arrive at your conclusion. Let's take example. Yeah, so let's take example. You know what you will do for me? I want it to be a bit interactive now. I want it to be a bit interactive. So do this for me. Write down these values. Take a paper. So this is the first case scenario. We are going into the core of the teaching. A 17-year-old patient presents to emergency, accident and emergency, complaining of tight feeling in their chest, shortness of breath, and some tingling in their fingers and around their mouth. They have no significant past medical history and are not on any regular medication. An ABG is performed on the patient who is not currently receiving any oxygen therapy. So these are the values. So do this for me. Write down all these values, because I may take off the screen now, because I want us to interact at this level. So we'll still come back to the screen. Please write it down. PaCO2 of 14. PaO2. PaO2 is 14. pH is 7.49. PaCO2 is 3.6. Bicarbonate is 24. I believe you have done just that. Oh. I believe you have done that, right? Okay. Now, so let us go through our okay, I think I will still have to. Now let's go through our interpretation. The first thing is for you to check the pH. So the pH is, how can we make this interactive? Can you, what do we do now? And I don't want it to be too noisy. Okay, but just let's follow. I just want to be sure you get it, because I will give you some of the things to also work on. The pH here is 7.49. So the first thing to know is what is happening in this body. Is there acidosis or alkalosis? And it is your level of pH that will make you to know if there is acidosis or alkalosis. Therefore, the pH is 7.49. So what is that? Can someone just unmute and tell us, is pH of 7.49, is it acidosis or alkalosis?
Alkalosis, sir.
Alkalosis, thank you. Why? Why is it alkalosis?
It is more than 7.45.
Thank you. Thank you. It means I just want to be sure you are following. Now, somebody should also get ready for the second step. Thank you very much. Now, so he has told us now that this is alkalosis. So write it down that this is alkalosis. That's the first step. The second step is, what is the source? Determine the source of, now we have established that this is alkalosis. So what is the source of our alkalosis? What is the source of this alkalosis? It's very simple. Just check what's happening here. Just check okay. What you need to do is simple. Check the PaCO2, check the bicarbonate. Okay? You are checking PaCO2 because you want to know if the source is respiratory. You are checking bicarbonate because you want to know if the source of our alkalosis is what is metabolic. That is why we are checking those two values. Now, let's start with PaCO2. I want someone to unmute and tell us a PaCO2 of 3.6. Now, what's the normal level of PaCO2? In kilopascal. Don't forget, we are measuring in kilopascal. Can someone unmute and tell us what is the normal value of PaCO2?
4.7 to 6.
Is it the same person or another person speaking?
No, another person.
Okay, 4.7 to 6. Thank you. So now look at this PaCO2, 3.6. Will you say this is alkalosis or acidosis? Somebody should help us.
Alkalosis.
Please, can you speak louder? Who is speaking?
Alkalosis, sir.
Alkalosis. Why?
Because it's lower than 4.7.
Thank you very much. I think people are following. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. Now, the PaCO2 of 3.6 is alkalosis. It's very simple because it is less than 4.7. Any PaCO2 less than 4.7, you say it is alkalosis. Any PaCO2 greater than 6, you say it is acidosis. So now we have said our PaCO2 is alkalosis, right? Now let's check our bicarbonate. Let's check our bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is 24. What do you see about that? Is it acidosis or alkalosis, or what is it? Who can tell us? Another person that has not spoken before. Who is speaking? Please, let's be fast. Bicarbonate of 24. What is your interpretation of that?
It is normal, sir.
Thank
It is within
you.
the normal.
Thank you. Normal. So just put in brackets in front of bicarbonate. Just put normal. So our bicarbonate is normal, but our PaCO2 is tending towards alkalosis. So we can conclude that the alkalosis we already detected in the pH is traceable to respiratory. I hope you get that. It's traceable to respiratory. Why? Because even our PaCO2 is also pointing towards that same direction of alkalosis. So, like I told you initially, that you will, number one, know your pH to establish if there is acidosis or alkalosis. Number two is to trace the source. So we have done number one, and we know that we have established that alkalosis is going on in these patients. We have now traced again, we have checked both the respiratory source and we have checked the metabolic source, and we have seen that the respiratory source is also pointing towards alkalosis. So it is reasonable for us to say that this is what we now say is respiratory alkalosis. Okay? Respiratory alkalosis. At this point, it is safe for us to say this patient is suffering from what? Respiratory alkalosis. Now, the last step or the second to the last. Oh my, what's happening? Offsets. What's happening here? Okay. So let's go to the next. Check if there is compensation. That's the next thing we want to know now. Let's check if there's compensation. Now, you have written, I hope you are writing, write somewhere that we have already said there's respiratory alkalosis. So if you want to know whether there is compensation or not, you will have to check the other regulatory system. This is respiratory alkalosis. If you want to check compensation, you have to check metabolic. You have to go to metabolic and check what is going on. This is respiratory alkalosis. If you want to know if there is compensation, check metabolic, because metabolic will be doing some things to regulate or to compensate. So, and what is the metabolic that you will check? Can someone tell us the metabolic you will check? Somebody should talk to us.
HCO3.
Thank you. HCO3 is a metabolic that you will check. So now let our metabolic, the HCO3 is telling us that there is really nothing going on. It's normal. It's normal. So it means there is no compensation. If the value is within normal range, it means there is no compensation. There's no compensation. There's no compensation. Now, if you want to know that if there is any compensation going on, what will happen is that since respiratory alkalosis has been established, the only compensation that the metabolic system can do. Okay, let me ask that as a question. Someone that has not spoken before should answer this question. If there is respiratory alkalosis, what response do you expect to see in the bicarbonate if it is compensating? Will you expect that the bicarbonate will be high or the bicarbonate will be low in respiratory alkalosis? Anyone to answer that question? There is respiratory alkalosis going on in the body. Would you expect, okay, Risikat, yeah, you can talk, just unmute and speak if you want to speak. There is respiratory alkalosis going on in the body. What response do you expect from the metabolic? Do you expect that the bicarbonate will be high or low? Who is speaking? I can't hear you.
To be low, sir.
Thank you. Bicarbonate will be low. That is a way of compensating for it because there is already alkalosis going on in the body. So there's no point, producing more bicarbonate. So the level of bicarbonate will drop if there is any compensation. But in our scenario, bicarbonate is normal. So there is no compensation. Okay. So our conclusion will now be that there is what? Now look at the conclusion. Look at the answer here. You see, check pH. pH is 7.4 now. That's alkalosis, just like what we did. Now, PCO2 is 3.6, alkalosis. Bicarbonate is 24, normal. Source, respiratory. Now, to check if there's compensation, bicarbonate is 24, normal. So it means it is non-compensated. So our conclusion is what? Non-compensated respiratory alkalosis. Non-compensated respiratory alkalosis. I hope you got that. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting. So let me give you another one to practice with. Look at this. So just quickly go through this using the same method that we have used. So let's analyze it one after the other. Okay, let's do this together, and then I will give you the next one as some practice. The first step is what? pH. So let me read out this question. A 16-year-old female presents to hospital with drowsiness and dehydration. They have no previous past medical history and are on no regular medications. This is ABG. So the first step is what? Check your pH. pH is of 7.33. So let's conclude. Now, what is this one alkalosis or acidosis? Somebody?
Acidosis.
Acidosis, thank you. So that is it. Write it somewhere. This is acidosis. The next thing is to check the source. Now, when you want to check the source, you check PaCO2 and bicarbonate. Now, what is your PaCO2? PaCO2 is 3.0. So what do you call that? PaCO2 normal value, we said is what? 4.7 to 6. And this is 3. This is a PaCO2 of 3. So what do you call that? Is it alkalosis or acidosis? PaCO2 of 3.
Alkalosis.
Alkalosis. I hope everybody is following. I want everyone to follow, honestly. I want everyone to follow. I want everyone to follow. Yeah. So PaCO2 is 3.0, and that is definitely alkalosis. So we have written that this is alkalosis. Now, look at this. You said PaCO2 is alkalosis. Is this PaCO2 going in the direction of our pH? Is it going in the same direction?
No, sir. No.
No. Definitely, this is not, the source is not respiratory. That's what it means. If it is not going in the same direction of the pH, it is not the source. If it's not going in the same direction as the pH, it is not the source. The pH tells you it is what? Acidosis. But PaCO2 is telling you, is giving you alkalosis. So it means that the source of our acidosis is not respiratory. So we have ruled out respiratory source. Now let's go to bicarbonate. Bicarbonate now is 17. Bicarbonate is 17. So, and the normal level of bicarbonate is between 22 to 26. So what do you see about this bicarbonate? Is this acidosis or alkalosis?
Acidosis.
Acidosis. So it means now bicarbonate is pointing in the same direction as our pH. So we can conclude that this is metabolic acidosis. This is metabolic acidosis. So up to this point, we have said pH is 7.33 as acidosis, and then we have ruled out respiratory source because it's pointing towards alkalosis. But now we see that bicarbonate is pointing towards acidosis. So we have concluded that this is metabolic acidosis. The next thing is to know, is there any compensation? Now, if we have said this is metabolic acidosis, we go straight to check respiratory. Peradventure, there is an ongoing compensation that is taking place there. So let's check, go back to our PaCO2. PaCO2 is 3.0. And we already said alkalosis is going on there. What does that tell you? Someone should talk to me, please. Let's reason it.
It's trying to compensate.
Compensatory.
Yes, the respiratory is compensating for this problem. The respiratory is already going already going alkaline. You understand? It's already going, into alkalosis, and it's trying to compensate for the acidosis. Okay, so in this situation, it is a compensated metabolic acidosis. So let's check if we are right. Sorry. Let's check if we are right. This is it. So pH, acidosis, PaCO2, alkalosis, HCO3, acidosis, then we say it is what? This is a compensated metabolic acidosis. Yeah, so let's do this now. This is for us. I give you just 2 minutes to do this. You can read through it and then give me, don't say anything until I ask you. I will just, so just go through it and arrive at the conclusion. Go through our steps one after the other. I can call on anybody. You know, I have your names here. So everybody should do it. Everybody, if you are listening, if you are watching this, everybody should do it. So work it out and let's see. It should even be true by now. Very. So let me call someone. Let me call someone. Okay. I want to. Who has not spoken here? Okay. Does anyone want to? Let me see. Omorin Sola Priska. What's your conclusion on that scenario? Omorin Sola Priska. Are you there? She's not responding. Let me call another person. Okay, okay, some people are raising their hands. It's the same set of people. No, let me call on another. It means maybe some people are not okay. Amori Sola Priska, do you want to speak?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so what is your answer?
I am actually just joining the class. Sorry, I have sore throat.
Okay.
So I can't really follow. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me call, who is there again? Charity Olawumi. Charity, are you there? Charity Olawumi, are you there? Wow. People are not following. I don't want to call people that are raising their hands. I've been the one talking.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the answer,
So just go through the analysis.
Okay.
And
From
tell us your conclusion.
the pH here is 7.29, which indicates acidosis.
Yes.
Yes, because it's lower than 7.45.
It's lower than 7.35.
7.35, yes, sir. 7.35.
Yeah.
So that's acidosis. Then the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is 9.1 kilopascal, which also points towards acidosis.
Yes.
The HCO3, that's the bicarbonate, is 26. It's still in normal range.
Yes.
But I've not been able to work on the conclusion yet.
No, tell us something you already know. So what have you known so far?
The pH and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, they are tending towards the same thing. So
what does that tell you?
It tells me that it is respiratory acidosis.
Thank you. So is it compensating or not? If you check the bicarbonate, is it?
I don't think so.
No, you have to be sure. You have to be sure. You check the value.
In value is 26.
So what does that tell you? What's the normal value? What did you say?
I don't understand that part yet. I've not been able to understand the part.
Okay, thank you. At least you have So you can mute yourself because of the noise. Please, you can mute.
But you've never evangelized.
Yeah, thank you very much. So she has already told us to a very large extent that this is what? This is respiratory acidosis. So do you agree with that? Let me call another person. So now let me call one of the Adepeju. Adepeju. Adepeju, are you there? Yeah, so do you agree with the person that spoke just now?
Yes, yes, I do. So I just joined the class for the video I just saw, and then that you explained not quite on for previous.
Stop recording, and my battery is also.
I can't.
Is it live now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, maybe you speak louder. It's very faint.
Okay. I said from the previous example because I just joined the class.
Yes.
And then from the values and the analysis, the last the speaker just analyzed is acidosis.
Yes. Okay.
But I can't say if it is compensating or not because I didn't follow the class from the beginning. But from what I just achieved so far from the class is acidosis.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So let someone who wants to tell us now. Is Kadijat there? Yusuf Kadijat.
I'm here, sir.
Yes. So tell us.
It is a non-compensated respiratory acidosis.
Thank you. Why? Why did you say that? Why is it not compensated?
Because the bicarbonate level value is still within the normal range.
Normal range. Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you. So I hope we got that. Let's go to, there's another example actually. So this is non-compensated. This is the answer, non-compensated respiratory acidosis. So let's try this. This is another one now. This is another one. pH of 7.50. The first thing is to know if this pH is acidosis or alkalosis. The next thing, check for the source by checking the PaCO2 and bicarbonate, and then check if it is compensating or not. So let's do that. If you are listening to me, I can call anybody. So just be very attentive. For those who are not here, let me just quickly go through it. The normal pH level is between 7.35 to 7.45. pH less than 7.35 is acidosis. pH greater than 7.45 is alkalosis. The next thing is to check the source. The normal level of PaCO2 is 4.7 to 6. Okay, so PaCO2 less than 4.7 is alkalosis. Okay, PaCO2 greater than 6 is acidosis, because we already said that CO2 continually interacts with water to form carbonic acid. So the higher the CO2, the more acidotic the blood is. Bicarbonate level is between 22 to 26. Bicarbonate of greater than 26 is alkalosis. Bicarbonate of less than 22 is acidosis. So analyze. And to know if it is compensating or not, you have to check, if you have established that this is acidosis, respiratory acidosis, or if the source is respiratory, you check the metabolic for any compensation, if there's any compensation going on, and vice versa. So it is time, or better still, you can, because we are live streaming it, you can go back to watch on the YouTube or my YouTube channel. At the end of this program, I will want you all to go and subscribe to that channel because there are a lot of very beautiful things there that you can watch. I've done a lot of videos there that will be helpful for you. Now, let's go to our question. Ogungbe Victor, are you there? Help us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Analyze.
Our pH is 7.50,
Yes.
which shows that the blood is alkalosis.
Thank you.
And because it's more than 7.45,
Yes.
PaCO2, partial pressure of CO2 is 5.5.
Yeah.
Which shows that it is still normal. That is, we cannot trace the cause of alkalosis to the CO2.
Thank you.
And our HCO3, it is 29.
Yeah.
Which shows that it is alkalosis because it's more than 26.
Yes.
That's to show that you have metabolic alkalosis.
Yes. So what is your conclusion?
Conclusion is that it is non-compensated metabolic alkalosis.
Let's see if you are right. Yeah, thank you. So you are correct. Non-compensated metabolic alkalosis. I love that. Thank you very much. Let's do this. This is the next one. This is the next one. You are asked to review a 59-year-old female who has been admitted to the acute ward of your hospital. The nurse tells you that she appears short of breath despite currently receiving 3 liters of oxygen via nasal cannula. You take an arterial blood gas, which reveals the following results: PaO2 9.1, pH 7.30, PaCO2 8.4, HCO3 29. Please don't forget our conversion. I told you that for this teaching we are using kilopascal for our PCO2 and PaCO2. So if you want to convert from millimeter of mercury to kilopascal, you just have to divide by 7.5. So let's analyze this, and I will call on somebody to run the analysis for us. Who can I call now? Yeah. Okay. Is Sola raising up her hand?
Yes, sir. I want to try. Though I just joined, but I just want to try with the analysis.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Please, can you show the question again, sir?
Yeah, it's here.
Okay, I think for the pH is 7.3 and is less than the normal range, which means it's acidosis.
It's not less than what?
It is not. It's less than the. It is not between 7.35 to 7.45, like you said. So it is acidosis.
So what I expect you to say is that it is less than 7.35.
7.35, yeah, it is acidosis.
Yes.
So the PaCO2 is 8.4. It is higher than 6.
Yes.
Yes, so that means it's high. And the HCO3 is 29.
No, what? No, wait.
That means
PCO2, you say it's high. What does that mean?
I mean it's acidosis.
Acidosis, okay.
So the HCO3 is 29. It is alkalosis, sir.
Okay. What's your conclusion?
I still don't understand the conclusive part.
Okay, let me help you. You see, pH is, you say it's acidosis, right?
Yes.
PaCO2 is also acidosis, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, PaCO2, when you check PaCO2, it tells you it represents the respiratory system.
Okay.
That is what PaCO2 represents. Bicarbonate represents metabolic system. So now PaCO2 is acidosis. So it means that it's pointing in the same direction as the pH. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So you can. Okay, let's leave it at that. Thank you for that analysis. I love the way you run through the analysis. Let's call on someone else to conclude for us. So just make sure you listen to that person and then you will get it very clearly.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So who do I call now? Okay, wait. Yeah, so let me call Risikat. Risikat, help us. Risikat, you are raising your hand. Okay.
Okay. The pH of 7.3 is less than 7.35, which means acidosis.
Yes.
That of carbon dioxide is greater than 6, which means it's acidosis.
Yes.
And that of bicarbonate acid of 29 is
it's not bicarbonic acid, it's bicarbonate.
Bicarbonate
yes.
of 29 is higher than 26. That means alkalosis.
Yes.
And my conclusion is that it is a compensated respiratory acidosis.
So why do you say it's compensated? Just explain for us, because some people are not really getting it well. So why do you say it's compensated? And why do you say it's respiratory?
Sorry.
What did you even say before? It's what? No, don't get yourself confused.
Respiratory acidosis.
You said what?
A compensated respiratory acidosis.
Okay, so why do you say it's respiratory acidosis?
Because the carbon dioxide level is high.
Okay,
so the bicarbonate is going to be released into the bloodstream to minimize the level of to compensate for the high level of carbon dioxide.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
By bringing it to the normal range.
Yeah. So let's see if you are right. Yeah, so she's correct. Compensated respiratory acidosis. It's very simple, just like you have said. The first thing is pH. What is the pH? 7.30 is less than 7.35, so that's acidosis. The next thing is to know the source. PaCO2 represents respiratory system. Bicarbonate represents metabolic system. So you can see that PaCO2 is also acidotic. So which means it's pointing in the same direction as your pH. So that's why you can easily conclude that this is respiratory acidosis. Then you look at the response from bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is already high, which means it is compensating for the acidosis. Thank you. Next question. So let's do this quickly. This is another one. Let me see who I can call for this now. So, see who I can call.
So okay.
Is that what?
The question no longer displays, sir.
Yeah, okay. You want to see it? This is it. I've put it there. Okay. Yeah, so anyone, I just want someone to just raise your hand if you want to tell us. Yeah. Raise your hand if you want to help us out. Anybody? Anybody? Yeah, okay. Let me call. It's John Akosile. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that. John, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you help us with this, please?
Okay. The pH is 7.32, which is lower than the normal. So we say the blood is acidic.
Yes.
The PCO2 is 4.0, which is lower. So we would say that's alkalosis.
Okay.
Then the HCO3 is 13, and the normal range is supposed to be between 22 to 26. That is lower.
Yes.
So I would say it is.
So what do you say about HCO3?
HCO3 is lower.
So what is that?
That's acidosis.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so what's your conclusion?
Okay.
What's your conclusion?
I would say it is metabolic acidosis, sir.
You think? You don't need to, you have already analyzed, so you just tell us what it is.
Metabolic acidosis.
So is it compensating or not?
It is compensating because PCO2 is moving in opposite direction, trying to buffer it.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's see if you are right. So this is compensated metabolic acidosis. You are very right. Thank you. So don't think you have your values, just say it. You can be very, very accurate. There's no confusion. So let's do this. This is the next one. A 64-year-old man is admitted to A&E with central crushing chest pain. As the nurses are getting him attached to the ECG, he has a cardiac arrest. Thankfully, CPR was commenced immediately, and after 6 minutes, he regained spontaneous circulation and began breathing again. Now, an ABG was performed. Patient is on 15 liters of oxygen, and then you have these values. So interpret this. PaO2 9.5, pH 7.14, PaCO2 8.1, HCO3 is 15.2, and your BE is minus 9.7. So let's run through that. I will call someone to analyze for us. Okay. I think this one is easy. Who wants to go for us? Yeah. Who is there? Who is there? Who is there? Who is there? So is Risikat there? Is Risikat there? Risikat. Morning, Solar Priska. I should be able to. Can you help us now? Okay. I think.
Yes, I will just try. I hope I'm right. Can I see the question again, sir?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, the pH is 7.14, which means its acidosis is less than 7.35.
Yes.
So the PaCO2 is 8.1, which is higher than 6, which means it's acidosis.
Thank you.
The CO3 is 15.2, which is lower than 22, and it is acidosis.
Yes.
So I think they are non-compensatory. I'm not sure whether it's respiratory or but but it's non-compensatory.
Okay, thank you. Don't worry. I like that attempt. You know, I'm more interested in the analysis than the conclusion, because if you analyze well, you can easily get your conclusion. Who else? Who want to help? Who is there? Ogungbe, okay. Ogungbe, go ahead.
So the pH is 7.14, which is acidosis.
Yes.
The PaCO2 is 8.1, which is higher than 7, which is higher than 7. That is, shows that it is acidosis too.
It's higher than 6.
6, yeah. It's higher than 6. Acidosis. And the HCO3 is 15.2, which is lower than 22.
Yeah.
It's also acidosis.
Yeah.
So my own conclusion is the diagnosis itself is respiratory acidosis.
Respiratory acidosis. Why? Is it also metabolic? Because the ACO3 is also lower than 22.
Yes.
So I can also say it is metabolic acidosis, right?
Yes.
So don't let me confuse you too much. So this is what we call mixed metabolic and respiratory acidosis. Yeah, there are situations like that. So let me go back. There's a place in this, I mentioned mixed. I didn't just base on it too much. Did I mention it? There's a place yes, look at this mixed respiratory and metabolic acidosis. The characteristics is that the pH is lower than 7.35. The CO2 is higher than 6, and then ACO3 is what? Lower than 22. So we call that mixed respiratory and metabolic acidosis. So if you come across such question later in the future, just know that it's mixed. There are situations like that it can be mixed metabolic and respiratory acidosis. Okay, and that is the end of our presentation today. Have you enjoyed this session? Let me get your response.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You are welcome.
Yes,
yeah, you're welcome. It's nice having you around. All of you watching from YouTube and everybody here appreciate you. Please, I need something from you. You know that YouTube channel, there are a lot of things there. Sometimes ago I do, record a few videos, put it there. So just go there, subscribe. That is my request, number one request. If you have enjoyed this lecture, just go to that YouTube channel and press the subscription button. That is the only thing you can do. That is the only thank you I can receive from you. All this one you are saying thank you. It's until you press that subscription button. That is when I can. So I will copy the link and put it here also. So that how can I?
What's the name of the YouTube channel, please?
Yeah, let me try to copy the link. The name, let me try to copy it. It's David the Nurse. Just give me a minute if I can copy. Okay, yeah, thank you. So I will copy it here so you can visit. So I will put it in the comments section here. Okay. Yeah, so that is a link. So just go there and subscribe. So this clinical nursing classroom will be holding every month. It will be holding every month. So if you have any challenging topic in your nursing experience, both as student and staff, you can contact me directly and send the topic, or you go to, you send it to our website, NDDC, I will type it here, CN 360@gmail.com. So you can send your topics to that email so that we can keep gathering here and we learn together. This thing I'm teaching you, many of you will not appreciate it now until maybe later when you start practicing. It's very golden, actually. It's very, very golden. I've put it in a very simple way because I like simplifying things. Okay, so if you carry textbooks to read, it may look like a mountain before you. All right, so thank you very much. Also, lastly, I have a book I wrote. If you are interested in getting, it's a book on drug dosage calculation. So if you need a copy, you can contact me directly, or you go to that same or you contact me through this email, and then you get it. nddccn360@gmail.com. Then you will be able to get me there. Thank you very much. I want to advise that you practice more. Do get questions, ABG quizzes. You will see it on online. You know, take as many as possible, analyze it, you know, so that you get used to it, and then you'll become a master in that area. Okay, so thank you very much. I appreciate you. See you next year. Bye.